yearn and strive for government, protecting our liberty.
Good evening and welcome to Your Right to Know by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. My name is Mary Lotze.
And I'm Andrew Couture.
And we will be your host for this evening's show. You know what, Andrew? Election is coming up very quickly now.
Exciting. It's very exciting.
This is an exciting time, but it's coming up. The month of October is upon us, and it's going to be here before you know it. We vote on November 8th. We also have early voting we want everyone to know about, starting in many places October 24th. So tonight we're going to talk about Donald Trump, and we brought together a large group of people, a very esteemed panel of very strong and loyal Donald Trump supporters. And tonight they're going to talk to, hopefully, people who are still a little undecided on why you should feel comfortable in voting for Donald Trump for president. I don't know if you noticed, Andrew, but as we drive around cities and towns, there's very few bumper stickers or yard signs. You'd almost not know it was an election period coming up.
I travel all over Massachusetts, and I am surprised at how little lawn signs. Now, comparatively, you go up to New Hampshire, they're all over the place. Yeah. They're like sprouting up like mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's a very unusual election.
Well, you and I believe that Donald Trump is going to take not only New Hampshire, but Massachusetts.
Absolutely.
So now let's get to our panelists and see what they have to say. Yay! Thank you all for being here tonight. We're so happy to have you, and this is going to be a fun night. For many of you, it's the first time on TV, although we do have some nice returning favorites of us, and so we want to get right into the show. First, I'd just like to call on a couple of people and as a way of opening up the show and opening up the dialogue. I'll start with our chairman of Fitchburg Republican City Committee, and that's John Strang. Hi, John.
Hi there.
You are from Fitchburg.
Yes, that's right.
Have you been a Republican all your life, or were you like many of us that started out on?
From a period as a college student, I've been a Republican for the last 30-some years, 35 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you are the chairperson of our committee and locally in Fitchburg. Do you want to start out? And was Trump always your candidate?
Trump, no, he was not always my candidate. I voted for Cruz in the primary here, but actually within a short time of making that vote, I realized I probably would, if I had had a chance, I would have voted for Trump. And I fairly soon came to Trump as the logical candidate we need, the man we need. Yeah.
Care to tell us why?
I think he has the right manner. Some people might laugh at that, but I think he's unapologetic about being an American and being a successful American. And I think that certainly is a beautiful antidote to the present president, who so much apologizes for being American.
Actually, thank you for saying that, for bringing up that point. One of the things I think that we saw also with Mitt Romney 4 years ago is he was, of course, a very wealthy man. Worked for his money, but nevertheless was very wealthy, and he hid behind it.
Yes.
And he was not willing to own up to it. Where we have Donald Trump is just the opposite. He comes out and he just says, I'm a rich man. I worked hard, but I'm a rich man. So I think that's very admirable of him. Thank you.
Good.
Jackie.
Yes, I want to send this message, especially for women are undecided. The earthquake in Haiti 6 years ago left the country even more in miserable poverty. The funds the Clintons organized to help them, millions of dollars didn't go to the people in Haiti. The Clintons kept those millions of dollars to their own funds. So I want to mention also how the children keep their stomach busy when they are hungry. They mix clay with butter, with water, and they make little balls and they put in their mouth, to keep, like I said, the stomach busy. So tell me, how Hillary Clinton is thinking about children and women when she doesn't touch her heart when they see this poverty people living in that condition after the horrible earthquake. I am from Peru. I am a Latina. I don't find Donald Trump anyways racist. I found Hillary Clinton the most racist in this running for office. I think this woman doesn't have a heart in her chest. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that perspective.
Yes.
I think oftentimes the press is really playing up the fact that the Clintons, through their foundation and their benevolence that way, are out giving money to poor countries. But I think the statistics actually show that the percentage of what they're giving to the countries is, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 5%. And that's almost reverse of some of the very good charities that people are encouraged to give to that really do good work. And Haiti was particularly hard hit as a poverty country before the earthquake. And then was just devastated after the earthquake.
Exactly.
Bonnie, why Trump?
So last November 2015, I got invited to a Trump rally. Up to that point, I was pretty lukewarm about Donald Trump. I'd listened to the media, hadn't heard many good things, if any. And yet he's coming to Worcester. I live in Boylston. All right, he's coming to Worcester. Lots of people are going. I'm going to go. So I went to the Worcester rally, and I was so inspired by this man. I listened to him, and I mean, like, he just quickened my spirit. He talked about a love of this country we haven't heard about in 8 years. I became immediately a Trump team member. I listened to him talk about, again, our country, and then talk about building a wall. Well, what's wrong with us building a wall and making our country secure?
I think you had some thumbs up on the building the wall.
Yeah, I mean, Mexico is building a wall on their southern border. Why can't we, the United States, build a wall on our southern border? Why can't we feel safe? I don't feel safe anymore. My children don't feel safe anymore. That's wrong. That's the #1 job of the federal government. So I listened to him, I got on the Trump train, I joined the Massachusetts Trump team and was the Massachusetts field director for the primary. Massachusetts won 49.6% of the vote for Donald Trump in a field of 13 candidates. It was fabulous. This state was turning for Trump. I look at this man. He may not be the most skilled debater, but boy, if I'm going to negotiate a deal, I want Donald Trump on my team every day for every deal. I think he'll make our country safer. He'll negotiate good deals for our country. He's going to put more money in our wallets. My daughter, as a millennial, is like, Mom, all I care about, they're taking $20,000 out of our paycheck. I can't afford that, never mind the excise taxes, the sales taxes, the real estate taxes as she's buying a house. I can't afford this. So she wants more money back in her wallet. And jobs. I just came from a rally. He's doing rallies all over New Hampshire. If you haven't been to a rally, go see this man in person. It is not what you hear about by the media. It is not the little clips that you see. He is a phenomenal speaker, and he's got my vote.
And we were at the same Worcester rally. In fact,
several of us were. Jackie, you were there.
A lot of us
I don't know
were.
if any.
And I'll have to admit, I wasn't a full Trump supporter. I voted for Trump. I was turned early. But I was originally, looking at Cruz. I never made up my mind. But after that rally, you're 100% correct.
Me too.
Well, I think you brought up a good point. The business of America is business, and we need to get back to business, and he's going to bring us there. And it's the economy, it's the wage stagnation, it's the no upward mobility, and it is the trade deals, and it really is how the American worker has been treated. And he's going to bring us back to business, and he is going to put America first. And I have no problem with that. I think that's how it should be.
And Ann Wofford, candidate for U.S. Congress.
Here in the 3rd. I live in Haverhill.
The 3rd Congressional District. I think one of the things we as voters need to do is support Ann Because if we expect that Donald Trump is going to help make America great again, we need to send some strong people to Congress and give him the tools he needs to work with. So
And
thank you, Ann, for coming
I
tonight.
would love to serve everyone here with him. I think that would be an amazing experience. I think representing Massachusetts, we could do a lot of good. So I really do hope to earn everyone's vote. And I am supporting Donald Trump, and I everything he's talking about is everything I'm talking about, everything we're hearing about, and it even goes to the Affordable Care Act. You know, businesses right now, they're having a report, because it's a tax bill, Supreme Court said so, how much they pay for their health insurance benefits. We're gonna be getting in November how much everything's going up. They're gonna be taxing businesses ultimately on those benefits. That's the whole point of giving the information to the IRS. I don't think that should happen at all. And we need to go back to common sense solutions. He realizes the impact. I mean, and this is something we're hearing about. That is still a problem. It's a wedge issue. It never should have passed.
Joan?
I'm
have you always-
delighted to be here.
Have you always been a Trump supporter?
I have, from the beginning. I was in real estate in Wisconsin. I'm a transplant 25 years ago. And when I came to Massachusetts, I couldn't talk about politics because everybody was Democratic. I couldn't find a Republican to save my life. So what I'm concerned about is, first of all, I want to be happy again. I haven't been happy for 8 years. And I've had arguments with my family who have voted for Obama, and they've come around since. However, I'm concerned about the borders. I'm concerned about the illegal people that are coming across, that are here already. All the mistakes that are being made, and I heard about the 800 or 1,800 people
Yes.
that were made citizens accidentally. And a talk show host, Jeff Couture, who I listen to, he spent thousands of dollars trying to become a citizen, and it took him at least 10 years. He's on WRKO.
Yes.
And I love to listen to him. He brings the people in. They can speak their mind, and he has the patience to listen, and I have learned an awful lot. So I am ready to do whatever I can to help, to educate people, because I feel that they don't understand the Clinton crime family. They don't understand
The cartel?
the cartel. They don't understand the world, the globalist part of what this is.
Yes.
And that's why they're all against Donald Trump, because he's an individual. He doesn't have to be purchased. And they're all thinking global, the UN, things like that. So,
Alex,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Were you always a Republican, or are you even a Republican?
I'm a Republican.
Okay.
Left for a few years because of Weldon Salucci, because they did nothing to grow the party. Came back because I want to grow the party, particularly in urban areas. As a son of immigrants, I'm with Trump because the rest of the world is the rest of the world. It comes down to borders, language, and culture. It comes down to that American industry. When you saw Carrier announce that they're leaving for Mexico, when you see Ford recently announce they're going from Mexico. Well, the Clintons, how are you going to support people if nobody's working? If you're going to put coal, who's going to drive the food? Who's going to make the truck to drive the food? You know, they live in an unreal world with tax, tax, and tax, whereas Donald Trump, who's spent his own money, knows what it takes to make a buck. But not only that, the value of that dollar. You know, when you put your own money in there, you know what that value of that dollar is. But it comes down to security also. When you have a president that refuses to admit who we're fighting against. You know, I've worn this country's uniform. I have relatives that still wear this country's uniform. My friends that still wear this country's uniform that are engaged in this global war we're in, that's slowly creeping into this country. It comes down that 15, you know, we recently celebrated the 15th, well, not celebrated, but the 15th anniversary of 9/11, because we had the same situation, the president that refused to acknowledge, and Bill Clinton, what was happening. You know, I knew a lot of people that died that day. I had cousins that are New York City cops. What's next after, if Mr. Trump becomes, because of the fault of this current president, we're gonna see the American city maybe go up in nuclear flames? That could be the end result of a dirty bomb. We need to vote to protect our borders. Yes, I am the son of immigrants. But the funny thing is that Mexico has much more stricter laws against immigrants than this country has.
That's right.
That's right.
You know, it's almost borders on human rights abuses. We have a right to protect our border, to determine who comes in, We also have a right that American industry, that if we're gonna give you these tax incentives, you stay here and hire Americans. That's why I'm voting for Trump. But also at the end, as a person who has, as I stated earlier, I have relatives that are cousins in major American cities, and the target that this president has put on the backs of cops, be it Boston, be it Fitchburg,
Yes.
it is criminal.
Yes.
It is criminal
And it
because,
started in
yeah.
Cambridge.
yep.
You're absolutely right.
Yes.
Yes.
So
It is criminal what this president is doing. That guys that everybody here grew up with, young men, young women, who 24/7 put their life on the line, have a target because of this president. And also, the reason why I voted for Clinton, as a child, I meant for Trump, I apologize. The reason why I'm voting for Trump, I don't want to see that which my parents left take root in America, because both Clinton and Obama represent the worst in third world government. That is what they're bringing here.
Amen.
Where are we gonna go to escape that?
Robert, have you always been a Trump supporter?
I have been a Trump supporter since day one, since the day that he put his hat inside the ring. I was an independent 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I switched over to Republican because I started voting more along the lines of what they were talking about. And I got interested, started reading. I read news from BBC, Fox. I got a couple of doctors that I talk to. I work in pediatrics, and we debate back and forth with each other at work. And the stuff that they talk about, I don't really lean towards. So I've started to get myself into a Republican state of mind. I am a 21-year vet, retired. I was in the Navy for 10 years, Army for 11. I've been pretty much all over the world, in the Mediterranean and everything else like that. And I've seen other cultures like Israel and Spain and France and everything else like that, and all the Muslim countries, Egypt, and I've been to the Gulf, and I was in the Gulf War during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, OIF, OEF in the Army, and I don't like what I see over there with ISIS and Hezbollah, and I don't believe that the president is backing any of our allies that we have. Israel is a beautiful place. They love Americans, the beautiful country. Why are we not backing them up? There are eyes and ears out there because of a threat that is coming for Christianity and the Eastern way of living, you know? I mean, back, I've read and I've seen YouTube reports of how Iraq used to be back in the 70s and stuff like that, like just like an American culture. Then you come in with the Muslim, the Islamic State terrorists. They're coming in through our undefended borders. You know, we have to have a good defense, and right now we have so many people crossing our borders that we have not one single clue as to who they are or anything else like that. And it's going to start diluting the population of being American. You know, where I was a 21-year vet, like I said, and I'm afraid to walk down the street or anything else like that because of my way of thinking that police are good guys and stuff like that. I wanted to be a police officer. I didn't have the mentality to go for it or anything else like that. So I back whatever the police department does because it's only going to get worse before it gets any better.
Morgan, you're a private business owner, a small business owner. A couple of businesses. Well, does that weigh into your rationale for voting for Trump in any way?
For sure.
And tell us what business you own.
I own a company called Minuteman Armory. We're a small firearms dealer manufacturer in Templeton. And
Good
my
for you.
wife owns a medical office, so.
Okay.
Two highly regulated industries.
Yes.
And I apologize that I can't speak as eloquently as these folks can and do, so bear with me here.
You're fine.
The short answer is I've certainly not always been a Trump supporter. He earned my respect and my interest in voting for him by, as much as anything, simply saying things that occur in my head. So he stands up and he may say it about as eloquently as I do sometimes, and whatever that answer might be, he basically says, geez, I was thinking that exact same thing. Yeah. And perhaps the guy next to me says, he sounded like an idiot as a presidential candidate, but I'm thinking the same exact thing. Yeah. And a lot of the folks that I'm friendly with and that I know and that I associate with are all basically saying the same thing. And they may or may not consciously realize it, but if you stop and you break down things that he says, it may not be the most delicate manner, and he may act like the rest of us a lot, which is both good and bad. Hillary basically stands up and says, he's not presidential. Well, guess what? He hasn't been running for office for the last 30 years. And in a lot of ways, it makes him a little more like us. And that's a lot of, I think what everybody thinks is their biggest complaint is we're all being run by career politicians. Well, we have the opportunity to elect somebody who's not a career politician. And he may say stupid things, but I'm not going to get out of here tonight without saying something stupid. So I'm not going to say that endears me to him, but at the very least, it makes me think he might get it a little more than she does, perhaps.
Well, you know, perhaps one of the things when you say, I think when we heard him speak and we said, that's what I'm feeling. I think that was part of the First Amendment. We've become such a PC culture. We're afraid to open our mouths and express ourselves in absolutely any way for fear that somebody's going to look at me and say, oh.
You know what, we're Americans. We have the freedom of speech. We can say what's on our mind.
And when he stood up and he said something and he called out and used terms as they are, not workplace violence and some of these other euphemisms. I think the PC culture, we all went, here, here. I like that. The First Amendment is alive. The Constitution is alive. So he didn't have to be a constitutional scholar like maybe
the irony is that we say, oh, we need to be careful what we say because of the immigrants, but yet the very nation that very countries these people come from, there is no respect for diversity, no respect for religion. So you want us to become that, which they left? To hell with those people.
John, you were going to...
I was just going to recall that when the Democrats came in to office, they promised the most transparent administration in history. And what they've really shown is that they're the most transparent liars in American history.
Thank you.
And Donald Trump comes across as, to some people, as offensive because he doesn't lie. It's not in his nature to lie. He's brutal in speaking the truth. Yes. He was brutal about the need for the wall, the need for Mexico to pay for it, this failed state. And this helps explain the range of support he has. You know, it's something that I discovered just before this program. The Los Angeles Times recently sent reporters into Trump headquarters in Los Angeles just to see how diverse they were. And they were shocked because there were Hispanics, there were Asians, Filipinos, there were Mexican Americans, millennials, women of all ages, men of all ages. So it was a real eye-opener for them. And I think that we're going to see a reckoning here come November 8th, something that really will knock the media and the leftists on their tails.
And just as a follow-up, I mean, we have some hard problems in this country, and Trump is bringing hard answers. You know, he's answering, these are the problems. I mean, you wouldn't have heard about immigration if it wasn't for Trump during this election.
There was no spotlight on it.
There was no spotlight whatsoever.
Inner cities.
I mean, the fact that he's saying about inner cities, you voted constantly for the better part of a century for the Democratic Party. What have you gotten? Fatherless families, cities that resemble the worst in other countries. I mean, when you look at movies like Blade Runner or RoboCop, we have Hollywood 20, 30 years ago predicting what American cities are and how cops dress. Again, as a relative of cops, that you have to wear almost combat gear to go into what was a generation ago a nice neighborhood.
There's no respect.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's a respect for authority and
Exactly.
You know, acceptance that there is a hierarchy because that's part of civilization, is that we have laws and we have order. And I think he's also speaking to law and order.
And also bringing their 200,000 refugees and millions of illegals crossing the borders, they will register as the Democrats. So one party will rule in the country, and that's a bad idea.
You know, you're probably not going to believe this because you are all somewhat fearful and fretting. The show's over. Believe it or not, believe it or not, 30 minutes can go by so quickly. And you know what? I think you all did such a good job that I'm putting my notes down. And I want to not only thank you for joining us tonight, but sharing your insights with our viewers, because it's our viewers, as we are, who's going to go and vote. And we want the viewers to make good and honest decisions. We want them to make their decisions based on fact and not based on who smiled more the other, you know, at a podium, or who
did the shimmy.
Who did the shimmy, whatever. And so I really thank you for joining us tonight. And for our viewers, we thank you for watching Your Right to Know and sitting in with the FRCC tonight, the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. As we leave you, we want you to remember your local city or town Republican Committee is your only grassroots organization that holds dear your liberty and your constitutional rights and conservative values. We encourage you to join us in Fitchburg or any other city or town Republican committee. Why? Because to us, the GOP stands for growth, opportunity, and prosperity for all people, and because we always stand for freedom. Thank you and good night.
America, we stand for freedom. So let us all unite to yearn and strive for our republic that reflects our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might.